Hello friends, welcome to chapter 2, that is ERP implementation. This is a part of online faculty development program for this advanced IDT course. I am CA Pankaj Deshpande, your mentor for this session. ERP implementation, what is special about it? Basically, ERP implementation, it is an activity covering all the steps required to be carried out to generate the desired result from the ERP system. In previous session, we have studied what is ERP and what is ERP concept. In this session, we are going to discuss about ERP implementation. How does ERP implementation take place, and what are the aspects which need to be tackled very carefully while implementing any ERP software. Before we discuss anything about ERP implementation, we need to understand many a times why does ERP implementation fails? What are ERP implementation traps? This point is extremely important from the angle of implementation of ERP software. Let us try to understand. Let us try to understand a simple case. There was a client who explained his requirement. There was a user who explained his requirement to a software company. This was how he explained his requirement, that there should be a tree, there should be 2 rows, there should be some platform, horizontal platform, and this is my requirement. How project leader understood? Project leader understood that there should be a tree, there should be 2 ropes, there should be a platform like this. Now when it comes to designing by the analyst design like this, that there is a tree, there are 2 ropes, there is a platform. But ultimately, he failed to understand that the platform needs to be a swinging platform. So what he did, he gave support from 2 different sides, 2 opposite sides, and he made that particular platform swing. Business consultant's view. This is how the business consultant understood about the requirement of the user. Later on, when it comes to coding, this is how the programmer starts coding. The requirements are considered, but what were the exact requirement, this was ignored by the programmer while coding. And what about documentation? Project was documented like this. Many times we do not pay much attention to this aspect, that is the project documentation. So this is how the documentation takes place. In case of installing, the actual installation of features, actual installation of software, only 1 rope was there. And when it is a matter of billing, customer is billed according to our own choice, sometimes high, sometimes low. Support, how it was supported. And this was the actual need of the customer. So this is the basic problem with ERP implementation, that is the need of customers are ignored, they are not paid much attention, and that's why the ERP implementation fails. This is the whole process. This was on the lighter side of this particular matter. Now let us try to understand what are the steps in ERP implementation, one by one. The first step and the very, very important step is need assessment. What is the exact need of customer, that must be understood thoroughly. The step number 2, building in-house implementation team. Obviously, there will be some implementer from outside, but at the same time it is extremely necessary to have our own people who will be part of that implementation team. ERP system evaluation and selection. The third step, we need to understand the requirement, we need to evaluate the existing systems, and we need to select the system which we want. Preparation for change. Every organization must formally prepare for change. After the preparation of change, we need to prepare the data. Data preparation is a part of ERP implementation process. Now, after these 5 steps are over, now we need to start working actually on ERP implementation. Once the software is started, it needs to be tested. After testing, the training and educating people is one of the part, and the step number 9 in this process is go live. That is, now after implementing, after testing, after training and educating, it is time to go live. And once we are live on the system, ongoing support is extremely necessary. So these are by and large 10 steps in ERP implementation. We will discuss these steps one by one. need assessment. What is need assessment? The first and the foremost part is identifying the core areas. The areas of utmost importance, the areas which need more attention, more time and more efforts. We need to set the priorities. Priorities means which feature to be implemented first. Are we going to implement production module first? Are we going to implement sales module first? Depending on the priorities, we can decide which area to be considered first. Then standardizing the process. ERP implementation does not only include implementation of software. It may include some processes which are out of the software, which are not directly connected with the technology. These processes may be regarding the purchase process, how the document is to be carried out. Is in case of sale process, what will be the credit policies. Many a times these processes are not standardized in any organization. If it is not standardized, it is the job of the company, job of the organization to first standardize these processes. Remove hurdles. In case there are hurdles in the process, in case there is some confusion, these confusion must be cleared and hurdles must be removed. Building in-house team. This is the step number 2. What is there in building in-house team? First of all, in every organization, there are some people who are really interested in technology. They are really interested in implementing the ERP software. So these people need to be gathered at one place and they are to be part of in-house implementation team. There must be a leader and the goal of the team must be crystal clear. What is the objective? It must be crystal clear in the mind of everybody. And one more very important thing, there must be a deadline for implementation of ERP system. So please remember, in-house team is extremely necessary and there should not be a tussle within the team. It should work like a team and everybody must be having a common and clear goal in his mind. The third step in ERP implementation. It is now time to evaluate and select the ERP software. Basically, at the time of evaluation, we must consider our demands, our needs, and we must consider the demand and needs along with the software requirement. There are so many different types of software available. We have to consider which software is best for us. If it is working in a very good way for some other company, it is not necessary that it will be a best for us also. Every organization will be having their own requirements, their own demands, their own needs. So it is important to consider the needs along with the software. Now, selecting and implementing ERP. On a lighter note, I would like to say that it is just like marriage. Because whenever it is a matter of marriage, everybody is most careful, most enthusiastic while taking the decision about marriage. Sometimes there is a hesitation also. What is the similarity between marriage and ERP implementation? If you ask somebody what type of bride you wish to have or what type of a groom you wish to have, the people will answer this question like this, because I need a girl like this. So what should be the characteristics? What should be the speciality that must be present in a bride? What should be the criteria for selection of software? Let us compare marriage and software selection. The software must be a reliable one. Secondly, it should be as per our requirement. It should fulfill all our needs. It should be user friendly. It should be versatile. User friendliness and versatility both go hand in hand. User friendly, if it is user friendly, it should be versatile also. If it is versatile, then it should be user friendly also. It should be fast because the data size will be very high and it should be able to handle the high data size also. It should be intelligent. Intelligent means in terms of that there should be a lot of reports. It should understand the user requirement and it should provide all types of facilities, features, reports in the software. Elegant softwares are always welcomed by the users. So software must look beautiful, the font, the color, the placing of fields, design. It should be attractive. It should be compatible. What do I mean to say by compatible? The connectivity of the software with other softwares. For example, exporting data into Excel. This is a requirement. So software must be compatible with Excel. Importing data from Excel, it is again a matter of compatibility. Importing data in XML format, generating files in PDF, in JPG, this is included in compatibility section. And last but not the least, the software. Despite of all these features, it must be cost effective. So being cost effective adds really value to the software. Even if all the features are there and if it is not cost effective, actually people will not go for it. Now the fourth step, that is preparing for change. Preparation for change actually includes handling of user emotions. Every human being is a different person and every person is having some sort of emotions. It is generally said that change is the only constant thing in life. It is also said that there shall always be a resistance to change. People won't like to come out of their comfort zone. Everybody is happy with the existing system, and whenever we ask others, it is generally said that change is the only constant thing in life, and it is always again said that there is always a resistance to change from everybody. People are always happy in their comfort zone, they are happy with the existing system, and whenever there is ERP implementation, people generally resist. They say that the existing system is okay, we are happy with it, why we are changing the system, it is troubling us, it is not for us. Such type of dialogues generally come from the users, and many a times user resist to the resist to the changing the existing system. So this particular change must be handled carefully. Handling of emotions of users is necessary for preparing them for change. Once we are ready with this particular change, now it's time to prepare for the data. What is there in data preparation? Many times it is not necessary that complete existing data is transferred to the new system. Many times we may leave some part of data with the old system and we may take some part only to the new system. So for example, many a times so many types of stock items, unnecessary stock items may be there, which are not dealt with today, but it is there in the old system. So it is not compulsory that we are carrying forward all the stock items to the new system. It is not absolutely necessary. So this point must be thought over, that what type of data is actually to be transferred, is actually valuable for us, it is in actual use. So the useless data may be ignored and the really required data may be transferred to the new system. So this is data preparation. Generally it is about master data. Sometimes we may like to transfer vouchers, that is transaction data also, if we are transferring it is in between, that is in between of the financial year. So prepare the data that shall be transferred to the new system. It is a part of data preparation. Many times there are some old customers, just like stock items, old ledgers which are not in use today. So these ledgers need not be transferred to the new system. Now step number 6, it is actual implementation of ERP. That is, start working with it, that is installing the software and testing it. It is time to configure, install and activate the system. The previous 5 steps, it were about preparing for the implementation. Now in this step, we will actually start implementing the software, that is installation, configuring and activating the system. There may be some deviation from the planning while implementing. It is possible that we had planned for one thing and at the time of implementation our requirements may change. So implementation may change a little bit, but there should not be a very big change. Some change is bound to be there. But please remember, we must keep in mind that core areas and set priorities must be kept as it is. Why? Because if we had planned that we will be implementing sales module first, then we must start with sales module only. The priorities should not be changed altogether. once the implementation process is over, now it is time to test. How to test, and who is the best person to test the system? The testing shall be carried out first by implementers, that is the person who is from outside the organization. He will test what he has done. Once this testing is over, what will happen? It shall be tested by in-house implementation team. Testing by these two types of groups, that is the group of implementers, that is the persons from outside the company, outside the organization. These two types of testing shall be technical testing, that is implementers will test their own system. In-house implementation team, they will test for the results, and once this is over, it shall be tested once again by actual users. Now, once this particular testing by actual user is over, the testing process will be over. Testing by the user may not be called as a technical testing, but it will be a testing about input and output only. Whatever output is expected to be generated by the system, it should be generated by the system, and that only will be tested by the user. So the testing shall be carried out first by implementers, then by in-house team, in-house implementation team, and lastly by actual users. The next step in ERP implementation, once the user testing is over, it is time to train and educate the users. Training may be given as per need of each user or each group of users. Some people may take more time in understanding, some people may take less time in understanding. It depends all upon users. But training is a formal process and that needs to be carried out. Once training is over, it is now time to go live. We will start actually working with the system. Sometimes it is possible that people would prefer to run both the system, that is old system and new system, parallelly, and once the confidence in the new system is generated, it is acquired, we may stop working with old system. But this period of time is a very difficult and crucial time for everybody. I mean to say that it will be a crucial time for implementers, it will be a crucial time for in-house implementation team, and it will be again a crucial time for the users also, because users will be the person who will be troubled the most, because they have to work on both the systems simultaneously, that is old system and the new system. Old system, they are habituated with it, and in case of new system, what will be happen, it will be a totally new system and they will have to put in more amount of time and efforts in the new system. So initially there will be lot of hesitation from the users. They will prefer to work with the old system. Again, we have to handle this issue emotionally, and this particular period is very crucial for implementers also, because they have to put in more and more efforts and time for educating and training the people simultaneously, because go live is a very difficult situation. This situation is bound to be there, but we can definitely minimize the difficulties in this particular phase of ERP implementation by having a rigorous testing as well as providing proper training to the users. And once it is okay, the system will run fine, and lot of support is needed initially, but continuous support, some amount of support is needed regularly to maintain the system, to improve the system, and to work with the system. Support is needed in three areas. Support has three parts, that is troubleshooting. The first part, whenever there is a problem, the support team must solve the problem immediately, they must provide the solution. So this is troubleshooting. Second is upgrading the system. If there are any problems, we need to work on these problems and we need to upgrade the system immediately as per requirement, if it is not as per requirement. And third part is training. If at all it is required, some part of training, some sort of training is needed to be given continuously to the users. So basically these were the 10 steps in implementation of ERP system. There may be sub parts to these 10 steps, but by and large we can classify all the aspects of ERP implementation in these 10 steps. Now something about being flexible and being rigid. What we mean to say here by flexible and rigid? As you can see on the screen that there are two slides. One is about flexibility and other is about rigidity. While implementing ERP system, one must be very clear about flexibility and rigidity. A software, ERP software, should be most flexible for the person who is designing the system, who is implementing the system, and for whom it should be rigid. It should be most rigid for the person who is actually using it. I mean to say that for a user, it should be most rigid, and for a person who is implementing the system, it should be a flexible software. Why this is needed? Because, for example, let us say if we are printing a bill, sales bill invoice, what should be the font of company name, what should be the font of customer name, what should be the where should it should be placed, where we will be typing the date, where we will be printing the quantity, the value, the rates, tax classification, where will be the declaration for VAT, etc. Now these aspects should be flexible for the person who is designing the invoice in system. If it is a case of sales order processing, who will generate the order, how it will be generated, what should be the content of the sales order, what should be the field that must be used in the sales order, all these aspects must be flexible for the person who is designing the system. But when it comes to using the system, it should be most rigid. Means, let us take a case that if a person is creating a sales voucher, and if we are following the system of purchase or sales order processing, it should be a compulsion for user that whenever we record a sale bill, there must be a delivery note before recording of sales invoice. If you wish to record a delivery note, there must be a sales order before you record the delivery note. So this is a process. There must be a sales order first. After a sales order, there must be a delivery note, and after delivery note, there must be a sales invoice. It is a compulsion for a user to follow the procedure because company requires you to follow the procedure. First, you must prepare a sales order, then you must deliver the goods, and if the goods are delivered, in that case only you are supposed to raise an invoice. If invoice has to be raised, the previous two steps must be followed, and if the user is not following previous two steps, he cannot prepare a sales invoice. This is about rigidity. The same thing, there can be so many examples of rigidity for a user. For example, if you are recording a receipt from a customer, if customer has paid you, it has to be either an advanced or against one particular bill. So if bill or advance, if these two options are not selected while receiving the goods, the user should not be allowed to record the receipt itself. This is about rigidity. So for successful implementation of any type of ERP system, it is necessary to make the system rigid for the user. If user is given freedom to change the procedure, freedom to record the vouchers as per his or her own choice, it will be extremely difficult for anybody to implement ERP system successfully. Let us consider what is the CA's role in ERP systems. CS can really play a very big role in implementation of ERP system. What is it? There can be CS can play a very important role in three different stages. First is before implementation, second is during implementation, and third step is after implementation. Let us discuss all the three cases one by one. Before implementation, understanding the requirements. As we have already discussed, that understanding a requirement is a very crucial and important part. So understanding requirements, who is the better person as far as understanding the requirements of accounting system and ERP system? Obviously the chartered accountant will be in a quite better position to understand the requirements. Now, evaluating the software and vendor. What is the reliability of software as well as vendor? This is again an important aspect. CA, being in the profession, being in accounting profession, is always in a better position to understand it. Resource planning. When it comes to planning the resources for the existing system, it is the job of a chartered accountant which can be performed very well by him or her, that is resource planning and assessment of risk. What is the risk involved in implementation of this ERP system? This can be ascertained by a chartered accountant very easily. During implementation, during the process of implementing ERP system, ensuring master data integrity, it is again a very important aspect. Most of you must be knowing what is the importance of integrity of master data, but still for others who do not understand what is the importance of master data integrity, let me discuss something about it. Master data is that data which remains relatively permanent, which does not change frequently. In any accounting system, there are two types of data. One is called as master data and other is called as non-master data. Master data is that data which does not change frequently, which remains relatively permanent. In accounting system, ledger heads, opening balances of ledgers is called as master data. It is a part of master data. There can be variety of master data like names of cost centers, names of financial groups, voucher types, etc. All these are considered as master data. Master data can be classified in three different types. One is accounting master data, other is inventory master data. Inventory master data is that data which is about inventory. For example, names of godowns, names of stock items, name of stock groups, units of measures. These are the part of inventory master data. There may be a third type of master data that is about payroll master data. Payroll master data includes names of employees, their salary structure, their pay heads. These form part of payroll master data. So by and large, we can classify master data in three types. One is accounting master data, second is inventory master data, and third is payroll master data. Now let us take a case. We are implementing ERP system, and while implementing system, we need to carry forward the closing balances as opening balances in new system. Let us assume that we are shifting in the new system from 1st April 2016. So the closing balances as on 31st March 16 are needed to be carried forward as opening balance on 1st April 16. What care is to be taken? Let us consider the case of financial accounting master data. There are many datas. You are having certain closing balances with datas, and this particular balance needs to be carried forward as it is. Now at the time of carry forward of balances, let us assume that there is a debtor ABC Private Limited and we have to receive rupees 1 lakh from him as on 31st March 15, let us say. Now at the time of carry forward of balance, what is to be carry forward? Is it okay to carry forward the closing debit balance of rupees 1 lakh only? Sometimes yes and sometimes no also, because this particular closing balance of rupees 1 lakh debit includes 5 different bills of rupees 20,000 each. So the data about the pending bills, the 5 pending bills of rupees 20,000 each, is also to be carried forward to the new system. Same is the case with inventory master data also. Suppose we are having certain stock items with us. After carry forward of closing balances as opening balances in the new system, we will need the aging of closing balances, aging of stock items also. So for the purpose of aging, we need the date of purchase of these stock items. How old are these stock items? It is necessary for us, and at the time of transfer of closing balances, we must consider this aspect also. Again, similarly with the in the case of payroll master data also, we need all such type of information about employees, their closing balances, their loans, their advances, etc. in the new system. So please remember, ensuring master data integrity is altogether a separate area, and chartered accountants can really play a very good role in this particular area. Because chartered accountants are familiar with accounting system, accounting procedures, they are the best people to understand the accounting system, so it will be very easy for them to ensure the master data integrity. Many a times in many organizations, this particular activity, that is ensuring the master data integrity, this activity is considered as to be a separate activity, and separate assignments are given, separate audits are allotted by many organizations to chartered accountants. Few months back, Bank of India had allotted one particular assignment to chartered accountant firms. It was an assignment about ensuring master data integrity only. They wanted to check whether the master data in case of loan cases, whether it is really entered into the system correctly. That was the assignment given to chartered accountants. Second, during implementation, chartered accountants can play a very important role in review of internal control system. System will be implemented by the implementation team, that is the ERP implementation team, but whether this system is capable of handling internal control, what should be the control that must be there in the system, and review of internal control system is again can be a very big area for chartered accountants during implementation, whether we require a control at this particular point, what types of controls are to be placed, and how these controls are to be implemented. This can be guided. This can be guided by a chartered accountant very easily. Security assessment. This is the third aspect of ERP implementation where a chartered accountant can play a very important role during implementation. Every software, in case of every ERP software, it will be used by a variety of people. So there is a concept called as need to know and need to do. Access must be given on this basis. The person who is not connected with sales activity, he must not be given any type of access to sales transactions and reports. The person who is connected with purchase, he must be given access to purchase entries, purchase reports only. So security assessment, security aspect about usage of software, data security, safety, this can be considered as an area for chartered accountant where he can play important role. And assessment of changes, that is whenever there is ERP implementation, changes are bound to be there. Changes in people, changes in habits, changes in systems, procedures. So what type of changes are needed and what will be the impact of changes on the organization, this can be ascertained by chartered accountants just because of their knowledge of accounting systems. Verification of output with respect to input, again it is an area where chartered accountants play an important role. The input we will be providing like this and the output we are expecting in this particular way. This is known to everybody, this is known to users also, but chartered accountants can understand what is happening in between, that is between providing input and generating output. Verification of audit trails. The transaction will be passing through a procedure and there will be an audit trail in every type of transaction. So whether audit trails are there, whether audit trails are effective, this can be verified by a chartered accountant easily because basically he is an auditor. And training, when it comes to a training, chartered accountants can really be a good trainer just because of their understanding, their better understanding about the systems. So during implementation only, chartered accountants can play a variety of roles. The third step of ERP implementation, that is after implementation also, chartered accountants can really play important roles, that is system security audit. We had thought about the system security, we had planned about it, but whether it is really working, yes, this needs to be checked, and this needs to be checked on continuous basis. Every month, every quarter, every half year, every year, the frequency may be decided mutually, but this particular concept cannot be ignored. System security audit, yes, it is bound to be there, and again chartered accountants can play a very important role. Identifying areas for improvement. Basically the system is meant for improving, it is for easing the work of each and every individual user. Improvement is a continuous process and it cannot be stopped at any point of time. Again, system can be improved continuously. So identifying areas for improvement, chartered accountants are better at audit. They are considered to be the best persons for auditing. So they can find out the loopholes in the system and they can always suggest areas for improvement. Again, even after implementation, continuous training is always required. So training can again be provided by chartered accountants. System performance evaluation. System performance evaluation means we had planned that the system will be up to this particular mark, whether it is really working up to the mark. So performance of the system should be evaluated continuously on a regular basis. Verification of internal control. We had planned for these types of controls. Are these controls really working today also? Even after 1 year, even after 2 years, 3 years, the control must work forever. And to make the controls work, the controls need to be tested immediately, every time, regularly. Verification of data integrity, because this system will be dealing with huge amount of data, and verification of data integrity, that is input output integrity, I mean to say that data as it should be. So the data should always be integrated and the results must be correct. So this particular area again can be dealt with by chartered accountants very easily. Let us discuss something about security aspect in ERP system implementation. Whenever we discuss about security aspect, there are two aspects. One is physical security of data, other is electronic security of data. And both types of aspects must be dealt with very carefully. Physical security of data, I mean to say that data must be uh, kept safe physically. It includes locking of server room. It includes securing the data physically, that is preventing the damage due to theft, fire, water seepage, voltage fluctuation, etc. So physical security is one of the part of security aspect in ERP. Second is electronic security. While considering this particular aspect, the data must be made safe from unauthorized access. That is, the person who is in purchase department, he should not be given access to the sales data, sales report, etc. He is not concerned at all with the data that is being maintained by the other departments. In first chapter, that is about concepts in ERP system, we have studied that there are two types of systems. One is a centralized system, other is decentralized system. In case of decentralized system, the electronic security aspect is not so important because every department will be maintaining their own data. So the purchase department will be having their own set of data, sales department will be having their own set of data. So there is no point, there is no concept about accessing the data of other department, because other department will not be having any type of access to the data maintained by other department. But in case of centralized system, as we have discussed in previous chapter, the data will be same. This is the point where problem may start. As the data is same, everybody will be able to access the data, and here we need to control the access to the data as far as need to know and need to do basis is concerned. So the purchase department must be having access to purchase data only. Human resource department, HR department data, they may not be having access, they should not have any access to the data that is relevant to finance or accounts department. So this is about electronic security of data. This was about implementing the ERP system. There are so many aspects, miscellaneous issues which must be considered in implementation of ERP system. So I hope I was able to discuss these issues with you and you are able to understand this issue. So I'm ending my session here. Thank you very much.